What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Unqualified Film Bros podcast. Got another review coming your way tonight. We are talking about the new Guy Ritchie movie, Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre. It is not a French film, as some may believe based on that title. Guy Ritchie, Jason Statham, first time I think we've talked about either of these guys on the pod.
I did mention Wrath of Man in
You
my
did
because
mention
I
that.
love Jason Statham.
Um, so yeah, let's dive on in. And Ben, you're a big Guy Ritchie guy, so why don't you
Oh,
kick us
sure.
off? Benjamin Fortune.
Yeah.
I rather enjoyed this film. I would say it has a few issues, but overall the characters are what I expect from Guy Ritchie. Jason Statham does his part. He plays his movie stylized self in most of his films, but I think it works for me. I mean, I've seen all of them. I can't say all of them are the best of films, but he always is entertaining. I appreciate that about him. Uh, Overall, yeah, I enjoyed the film. I will say there were some issues, especially early on, getting everything going. It took a bit to get into the action. I know he likes to introduce all his characters, but normally, his best films are probably Lock, Stock, and Snatch, his earliest films. They introduce the characters while things are in motion, like with the central plot. It was more difficult to do that here, and my other issue is I like some of Aubrey Plaza's like quirkiness. Sometimes it was too much though. The drive scene was a little overboard for me, where she's like, yeah, and it sucked it off, and in her LA radio voice. It was a little much for me. Overall, yes, I did enjoy the film.
Mm. Does like Hugh Grant and Guy Ritchie do they do they have like an unbreakable bond of friendship or something like that? Like it's great to see Hugh Grant in this as well, but it's kind of funny how off like at this point he's becoming like more integral to like Guy Ritchie's films than like Michael Caine is to Christopher Nolan films. It's just kind of interesting. It's
No,
like I wonder.
he's not.
What was the last one he was in? Guy
I mean,
Ritchie.
he was, I just been watching the Gentleman, and then I also saw Man from Uncle
Oh,
last time. It's just funny, It's like here's Hugh Grant yet again. It's kind of funny, Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think these are the first few films I would say, like Jason Statham's in all of his films, other than the Sherlock
Man
Holmes
from
film.
Uncle.
Imagine if you had watched Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes films, and in A Game of Shadows, Jason Statham shows up as Moriarty.
Oh my
No,
gosh.
I would have much preferred Jason Statham as Sherlock. That would have been ridiculous.
That would have been amazing.
Listen, what the fuck did you say to me? Why are you coming, Watson?
Anyway, I brought that up to say I definitely like the film, but I think I felt a touch I don't want to like overstate. I felt a touch let down, given that it's like it's like, oh, Jason Statham and like Aubrey, such a great cast and
yeah,
and director and all that. I still liked it. Don't get me wrong. It just felt a little.
I'm in the same boat, and I would say like it's not as high quality as some Guy Ritchie films, but I would say it's more than entertaining. And honestly, Guy Ritchie and Jason Statham for me, I'll find that entertaining almost no matter what. The one thing you did mention, Hugh Grant, and I find it funny, like he's doing these, evil guy roles. Is the evil charming man now when he was in all these rom-coms, but of course he's too old to do that now.
Yeah.
And when I was watching the trailers for the film, in Dungeons and Dragons, I realized he's actually one of the bad guys, it seems.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah.
So he's really just embracing that, like, I'm too old to be in rom-coms.
Well, I don't know if you saw his pre-show interview ahead of the Oscars. Where
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
he was asked about his like 1 3 second moment in Glass Onion, and he was basically like, "Oh yeah, I was in that, wasn't I?" Like, he was so almost like was sort of standoffish about his involvement in that film.
I
And one might say it's because he's not the charming villainous type.
I mean, I would say that interview was more like her not having very many interesting questions, but also I feel
Yeah, I
like
mean, it
Grant
wasn't a
is a very
question.
sarcastic, deadpan guy, and that was his humor.
And it's
Mm.
A
British
lot of
humor.
people just didn't get that.
It's British humor, and I didn't take offense to it as a fan of the film and as a fan of Hugh Grant.
Yeah, as someone said
It
on
wasn't like
Twitter,
he's being an asshole.
he's
It's
not
just
trying to be rude, he's just
Mm.
British.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed this one. I went in with sort of medium high expectations, I guess you'd call it.
Mhm.
This, other than maybe the last duel and Declan's ears perk up, other than the last duel, this is maybe the shortest turnaround I've had from first hearing about the movie to going to see it.
Mm.
Like, I don't do that often. Usually if I'm going to see a movie, I will have been looking forward to it for a long time, or we will have been talking about doing it on the pod for a while, and it's on my radar, and then finally I go to see it. Like the next couple movies we're reviewing, we've been talking about doing them for a year now.
Mm.
So with this one, I haven't seen as many Guy Ritchie films as I liked and as I would have liked before this one. Obviously, I'm working on that because I really enjoyed this one and I enjoy his Holmes movies. But really, I found this one to be super entertaining. My expectations were exceeded, I guess you
Mm.
could say, just because Statham is Statham. He's playing, like Ben said, that fictional version of himself that works so well
Mm.
in Guy Ritchie's movies. You've got Aubrey Plaza. You've got Hugh Grant, both of whom we've already mentioned. I want to show some love to my guy Cary Elwes,
Mhm.
Yeah.
who, as we talked about last August, is the star of my favorite film of all time.
Mm.
I always love watching his performances. Yeah, it's just, and of course we have to talk about Josh Hartnett as well, who is so much fun in this. Max, you and I talked about after you saw the movie. You and I talked about Josh Hartnett a little bit, but yeah, the cast is great. It's shot really, really well. The score is good. The story is engaging. It's entertaining. Ben, I agree that it has a couple of flaws that we'll get into, but yeah, on the whole, it's a fun one.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, uh, I'm willing to overlook those flaws because, like, I just kind of don't care. Like, it to a certain extent, it doesn't matter with this kind of a film. It's not something that is even a sniff for award season. It's purely a film that I went in with almost zero expectations because I don't think I'd actually seen a trailer for it. So I didn't really know what to expect other than the fact that it was Guy Ritchie and it had a great cast, and so I was expecting to have a good time, and I did. It was a pretty well made film. It's Guy Ritchie. A lot of big noises, sort of typical of what he does. But yeah, George and I talked about seeing a sequel. I would absolutely see a second film. I just think it's fun, like, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I also feel kind of like the flaws can be overlooked here in the interest of just being an entertaining film. Again, I rate and review based on how much I enjoy rather than quality of film, even though I maintain that those two overlap almost like this. So I would say there were some issues with the pacing in the first act. Ben, I disagree with you in the taking too long to get into the action because they recruited Josh Hartnett's character, and they were on the yacht like 15 minutes into the movie.
Well, I mean, more you have like the introduction to everybody and getting into the role. Um,
It happened fast, I felt like. I didn't feel like we were waiting around for the action to start.
well, you have the whole thing
I
with
felt pacing issues in the other direction.
you have the whole thing in the first scene, and the Mike was it Mike Hook? So
Yeah, man.
um, I keep wanting to call him Mike Hawk.
Oh, Benjamin.
Um, but yeah, you had that scene. I don't know. It wasn't the biggest issue for me. It was just a thought. I didn't think the pacing towards the end of the film was that poor. I thought the pacing in the middle and the end were fine.
Yeah.
I think there were just some breaks in some of the scenes that were a little slow to get started and took a little too long. I mean, it's not a big thing, and I'm not saying it's a very long time. It just would have been something that I would have shortened down. That's all.
It only runs about a buck 45, buck 50, right? And it's not a long movie.
No, it is.
No, it's like 155 or something.
Yeah.
And I mean that doesn't mean much though. If it takes long to get going,
Well,
it takes long to get going.
If you're taking a long time to get going, but it's a 2.5 hour movie, then you're accepting that as part of the pacing. If it takes you, this isn't the case for this film, but if it takes you 45 minutes to get into the action in a 90-minute movie, then
Well,
it's an issue.
that yeah, that's not my issue with this.
Right.
It's a slight issue with it. It was I don't think that's the main thing. Yeah, I would say some of the writing, I mean, it just could have been a little quicker. Like with Guy Ritchie, I'm expecting very witty and very snappy dialogue. And I thought some of the scenes in the beginning were not what I expected that. Like that's his high mark. I mean, obviously he's done a lot of films. And his high marks are from the 90s, so but that is what I want from a Guy Ritchie film because I know he can do it really well.
The snappy dialogue, I feel you on that because really, most of that is coming from Statham.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it in the beginning. Like it was very Guy Ritchie, where he was like,
Yeah.
"Who's that?" I like John. I trusted John.
We'll talk about John because I wanted him to be a bigger part of the third act, and he wasn't.
Did John appear on screen?
Yeah, he appeared, and
he was there in the
better than them.
Yeah.
Where was he?
In the tower at the end of the climax.
Okay, he was okay.
But I mean, when Statham is allowed to be Statham, he is, kicking ass and coming up with insanely witty one-liners and dominating conversation with just being an absolute action star asshole, which is his sweet spot, and it works really well outside of this film and within the film. Where the dialogue suffers, and I thought it was a pretty tight script overall.
Yeah,
where the dialogue suffers is when Statham's interacting with someone not quite on his, action thriller kind of comedy level. And that's where you sort of get a disconnect in the script.
Yeah, honestly, I think the biggest friction is probably Aubrey Plaza. There are some parts where it's like, I like the interplay, but for the most part, she feels too awkward to be in this film. Or like I said, Guy Ritchie is about snappy dialogue. She is anything but. That's her style. Like I'm not knocking for it, but
she's great with deadpan humor.
Yeah.
Which is she built herself up through Parks and Rec and through other comedic pieces. But she is first and foremost a comedic actor. And when you've got an action thriller that has comedic elements to it, you want the comedy because you want someone who can keep up with, snappy dialogue and a really, tight comedic script.
Mm.
But when the comedy is the focus for the actor, then I feel like it's a little bit a detriment to the casting.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, you could cast a comedic actor, right? Like in Mission Impossible, they did a great job with Simon Pegg. He's a straight comedic actor, and he's the action and like Hot Fuzz and stuff like that. But that is the center. But the thing is that his comedy works in action comedy. Aubrey Plaza's too. Like the thing with the pacing is, her comedy sort of stops the dialogue. She waits and delivery is very long, so it doesn't really work for me for a Guy Ritchie film. But the type of dialogue, like I said, he likes to direct, likes to use it. It just sort of stops that in its tracks, and it feels very awkward.
It felt like a very interesting experiment to have, like, to put
It was.
Aubrey Plaza in like a Guy Ritchie formula, kind of,
And I think some of them work. I just think they should have reeled her back. And it's like sometimes you do it, but not every time. And I think that was the issue. Is that she can't turn it off. That's just her comedy. That's the way that she likes to act.
I think she fits the character well. I just think that the character maybe could have been written to show a little bit more of her range as an actor, which is something,
Yeah, I don't know how much of this was
like Ana de Armas getting very into action films. Like she was in Bond, she was in The Gray Man, she's going to be in this new movie Ghosted with Chris Evans. She, you see her in something like Knives Out, you're seeing when she gets into action films a little bit more of that range. And Aubrey Plaza feels like Aubrey Plaza in this movie, which isn't a bad thing. It's just not, I think, what we were looking for out of the performance.
Well, what I was trying to interrupt with you is I'm not sure that this is written. Like a lot of her jokes don't seem written by Guy Ritchie. They seem written by Aubrey Plaza. So I would assume that she had input in what she was.
I think he's sort of like I mean, not fully, but like something of an improviser on set. Guy Ritchie.
Like a lot of Jason Statham's lines are normally, a lot of them are written, and then sometimes he'll do some improv things. But for a lot of comedy, he likes that sort of play off each other.
During the junket in advance of the film's release, there were interviews that Hugh Grant and Statham and especially Josh Hartnett, where they were talking about show up on set, know what the story is, but throw your script out. Really, this is just about being in the moment in the story and less about getting the words as they're written. So it would not surprise me at all, Ben, if there were moments when Aubrey Plaza's dialogue is just Aubrey Plaza reacting how Aubrey Plaza reacts to something that is given to her in the moment during filming. So I think that sort of creative process, both on Plaza's part and on Ritchie's part, is a little bit of a disconnect.
It's probably a casting issue. I mean, it's not like Aubrey Plaza has changed. She's been in the scene for years, and she's done that comedy for years. So yeah, I think maybe like Declan said, he may have wanted to try an experiment and see how it works because he's been directing the same types of films for a while. Maybe he's like, well, this is the impetus I need for something a little bit more creative or new for me.
In my previous film, The Gentleman, I had an American man. Now, let me go and get an American woman for this film. All right, let's go, everybody. That's I imagine what they were thinking when they were doing it.
That's probably what he was thinking. It's like, these are all these British people. Let's try an American.
Yeah.
I guess they have two Americans though. They get the American man and woman in this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
true.
Max,
Mhm.
you were talking my ear off the other day about Josh Hartnett. Why don't you go off about him right now?
Yeah, I thought he was good. I mean, like it just felt he felt really integrated in the story. Like they established really early on, sort of at the compound and everything, that he did his own stunts, so it didn't feel out of place when he started driving like a maniac later in the film. So
Mm.
like even if it was, maybe probably like shoehorned in, like that's fun. Like that's a small detail that matters and like will add up and make sense later in the film. And so it's great.
No, I don't think.
Um,
Like, just to interrupt you for a sec, I don't think that was shoehorned in because they had the car, they had an entire scene dedicated to that.
Mhm.
That takes up at least like 10, 15 minutes of the movie.
There's a lot
Okay.
of setup payoff.
That's what he's saying.
yeah.
Yeah. No, but like I don't think it's shoehorned in. I think that was definitely planned.
No,
So
no, like I feel like that both Max and you are saying that, which I agree with. That they did. It's good that they took the time to set that up in the script.
no, yeah. He just said even if it was shoehorned in. I was just
Sorry,
I
sorry.
don't think it was shoehorned in because
Mm.
they seem to have spent enough time.
Yeah, no. I'm saying
That's
I
what I
appreciate
mean.
that they took the time. Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, I know Josh Hart. I think he was in Mission Impossible. I think he was in Ghost Protocol. I think that was the one that he was in. No,
No, that was Henry Cavill.
no,
Or no, that was
no,
the
no,
different Mission Impossible.
no. But yeah, I mean, he was great. I mean, funny,
Mm.
like kind of a dumb character, but like
Yeah.
done really
In
well.
in some ways, the film almost acts as like switching of the roles, like from like how unbearable weight of unspeakable talent
Massive
shows
talent.
Nicholas what
Yeah.
yeah,
Massive
shows
talent.
Nicolas Cage's perspective. This film, it kind of shows its focuses on the agent's perspective. It's like,
Yeah, it would be interesting to see
mm,
this movie from the perspective of Josh Hartnett's character.
mm,
I imagine, Declan, you're right that it would play out a lot like Massive Talent with Nicolas
mm.
Cage. Um, I don't think The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent would have played as well if we focused on, say, Ike Barinholtz's character
Mm,
or Tiffany Haddish's character.
Yeah.
mm,
I will say Josh Hartnett does a really good job, and it is sort of a reverse because I mean I guess at the start Hugh Grant's character Greg is infatuated by Danny Francesco, but like at, about midway through the film you could tell Josh Hartnett's character is just completely infatuated by Hugh Grant's character.
yeah.
To the point where he's like, it would just be such an honor if I could see you work. And then I'm telling him in the elevator, that was the badass thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then
And I gotta give
and then
credit where
bringing
it's
him
due.
onto
It did.
set and like
Yeah.
copying that in the Japanese style.
Their interplay was the best. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
they were the highlights of the film. I love
They-
Jason Statham, but their chemistry was off the charts.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. It's like I was just gonna say, yeah. I think it's like he it possibly takes up almost too much of the oxygen in the film, but I do feel that Hugh Grant's character is entertaining enough for me that it was still okay, But yeah.
You said something very naughty there, Declan.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like
he kind of reminded me, especially with him saying all this stuff like, "Oh, that was very naughty of you," like an evil older version of Austin Powers.
I see that.
Is Greg Simmons the future Austin Powers?
Oh my
It
gosh.
would be great if they had Michael Caine as what is it, Nigel Powers?
Yeah, Nigel Powers.
They did another Austin Powers, and Hugh Grant comes on as like some the brother, the uncle of Austin Powers.
You could definitely see
an
that.
evil
That
dude
would
like Dr. Evil.
Absolutely. Hugh Grant would take.
It's definitely time in his career.
No, here's what it is. It turns out that the twist of the Austin Powers 3, that Dr. Evil and Austin Powers were secretly brothers. The twist in the fourth film is that that was actually not true. And like, and
so
Hugh Grant is actually Austin's father, something like that.
He's gonna do what J.J. Abrams did with Rise of Skywalker and just contradict.
Oh no.
No, that was actually a lie.
Most confused lineage of all time. Who is?
I do maintain that J.J. Abrams didn't directly contradict anything Rian Johnson said, but that's for another episode.
Yeah, they did that in the movie. They're like, well, technically, I didn't say that.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't telling you a lie, right?
Yeah. Yes. That's for another episode.
He chose to be nobody.
I feel like at some point we should just dedicate an episode to the sequel trilogy.
Oh, oh my gosh.
Just because we have spirited discussion looking at you, Benjamin.
Let us know in the comments if you want us to do an episode on the sequel trilogy. We'll definitely do it, but also let us know in the comments if you want to see that.
Yeah, we're doing it, but let us know if it's something you would watch.
Yeah. Let us know how soon you want to see it.
Everybody wants to see people yell about Star Wars, right?
Clearly, there's not enough of that online.
What did you guys think of the sort of concept of two rival teams going after this one job?
I like it.
It's just West Side Story. That's it.
Nice.
Hell yeah. No, I definitely liked it.
It was set up as like another government agent in the same vein as like Carrie Elwes' character.
I will
finding out that he's a rogue agent, and
I feel like having him be a rogue agent was a bit of a slight cop out. I think they should have stuck. I don't know exactly how it should have gone down, but I feel like having them actually be going rogue felt a little weak, you know. It's like it was enjoyable watching like them in this like violent bureaucratic spat with each other, you know, like that was fun.
I thought it wasn't that outside of the realm. Like it kind of made sense to me, especially with Orson. Like make a point about him, you know, getting compensation for all the things that he does, but not actual well-paid money, you know. It's gonna take mental health vacations.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say it does make sense, especially because, you know, they've got all these men. It wouldn't make much sense for government to be supplying them with that many men.
True.
It's supposed to be a covert operation, and this guy seems like anything but.
Yeah, he's got his own private army.
Yeah. So I think that worked fine. But I was gonna say it reminded me of Wrath of Man. I don't think any of you saw that, but
I haven't seen it yet.
It's about bank robbers, and there are two like teams of bank robbers. It's a much more serious movie than a lot of Guy Ritchie films. It's not like as fun. You still have some badass Jason Statham scenes. It's a lot more depressing. His films, but it also has Josh Hartnett.
Fun fact about Josh Hartnett and Wrath of Man: he didn't have a role when Guy Ritchie said, "Hey, you want to be in this movie?" There was no character written for Josh Hartnett to play.
You could sort of see it, like his role in the film is sort of a truck driver, and you could tell that he sort of just does everything else. He gives himself a backstory, you know. He explains himself, but he's actually pretty good in it because he acts. Jason Statham joins them, and then like first day on the job, Josh Hartnett's like, "Hey, you know, make sure you don't pee your pants." And they actually get robbed, and Josh Hartnett is in the corner, you know, just whimpering, and Jason Statham's like, "Hey, don't pee your pants over there." They do work well together, but yeah, I could tell there were some things that he took from that film. Obviously, it's way more entertaining than Wrath of Man.
Mm.
But I encourage you all to see Wrath of Man. I think it's a better overall film.
I'm absolutely doing a Guy Ritchie deep dive after this movie.
Well, definitely do Snatch first. Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels also. And then you can go from there in whatever order you want. But those are his, in my opinion, two best films. They may be his two first films, but they're his best.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
What about Aladdin
awesome.
2019?
Yeah, that's a film he did.
It's such a weird moment.
Look, I correlated something the other day. He did those two films. Then he married Madonna.
True. Such a weird, like in terms of like weird moments in Guy Ritchie's like career, it's like marrying Madonna and doing Aladdin 2019. It's just like what? Like, huh?
I don't know. I mean, Madonna was still hot in the 2000s, I guess. She was, I guess, 40. I don't know what was going on with her love life either. She like married Sean Penn when she was like, in the 80s at the height of her.
Oh yeah.
And then I don't know what happened. She dated so many people, and then
pretty sure Warren Beatty as well. Yeah.
Huh?
Warren Beatty as well.
Oh yeah.
All people.
Yes, she did all that. She married Guy Ritchie, divorced him, and then I think just started dating her backup dancers.
I'm pretty sure she dated Alex Rodriguez for like a week.
She did.
Everyone dated Alex Rodriguez for a week.
Yeah, that's
even Ben.
I mean, yeah.
So, on top of the cast, we talked a lot about the cast. On top of Guy Ritchie's direction
and his love life,
and Madonna and Alex Rodriguez. What did you guys think of some of the more technical elements, like production design with the sets, or some of the visuals with the cinematography, even like, the explosions and shit? I feel like there was, the production value of this film was a lot higher than some of the other non-franchise movies that we talk about.
Yeah, I will say, get credit where it's due. It did feel like the locations were like they felt there are times when like a modern movie has characters traveling all across the globe and like every location feels exactly the same. I feel like they did a good job here making each location feel like its own unique thing and feel like a version of whatever place they're supposed to be.
He likes to film on location, so I'd imagine that helps.
100%. Much better than just doing it on like a green. I mean, not a green screen or trying to make Toronto out to be.
I mean, obviously you have to use sets for some of the stuff like the ending. In terms of production value is pretty good. I mean, it's high. It's what I expect from the value. I don't think he does anything particularly like outstanding with the cinematography. I like the scene at the end. It's a clever little design to have Danny Francesco flip the lights off so you get better lighting for the explosion in the back. Which they may have done practical effects for that. I'm not sure that they did CGI for that, but I don't know. But it was nice, overall, like I don't think they do anything crazy. It's not as stylized as some of Guy Ritchie's other films. With the cinematography, certainly with the editing. It actually doesn't it feels like a Guy Ritchie film, but Guy Ritchie light. I mean, just the style that I have come to know from him is a lot snappier. The editing is a lot quicker. And the cinematography is very stylized.
Even Robin Hood was more stylized than this one, and that was like kind of a period piece, sort of.
No. I mean, they had some of the same shots. So like in Robin Hood, you get the arrow, and it like follows. You have some style.
Wait, did Guy Ritchie direct that Robin Hood movie?
Yeah, was that the one with Taron Egerton and Jamie Foxx? Like
That was-
that was the
yeah.
like the newest one, right?
2018.
Yeah, like the bad one.
Yeah, I heard it was bad.
Yeah.
I didn't
Didn't he
hate
also
it.
do the King Arthur film that was bad?
Oh yeah. Oh, maybe that's what the one I was thinking of.
Oh wait,
Same
yeah,
same
yeah.
era. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
'cause-
think Guy Ritchie's with
Oh no, the
Taron
Robin
Egerton.
Hood film was Ridley Scott. Yeah, that was
oh yeah, that was
that
No,
was
no,
actually
that's a different Robin Hood
No,
film with Russell
Ridley
Crowe.
Scott did the Russell Crowe.
wasn't that
Robin
only like 8 years ago?
Yeah, yeah. How did I remember that so well?
No new ideas.
yeah, we've done way too many Robin Hoods.
Mm.
Just know that none will ever top what Mel Brooks did.
To be fair,
Hey,
they did
fellas.
the movie a lot, or they
Awesome.
did the story a lot through time. You know, they just kept telling it over and over again. So
Yeah, Ben, I agree with you that not many risks are taken in the production design. Whether that's the, cinematography or the sets. Again, shooting on location is a lot better than shooting on a soundstage, Declan, like you said. And I feel like the environments, the fact that they're able to play with, the ruins and the mansion, they're able to sort of put themselves in the space outside the context of the film. And I feel like that really benefits the product that we get on screen.
Mhm.
And when a film does that, it stands out because a lot of what we see in action movies these days are soundstage and CGI, and we're gonna put someone on a rig and fly them up into the air in slow motion as they sort of tumble down to the ground.
Yeah.
So this felt authentic, and I think I appreciate that a little bit more as a viewer.
Mm.
So, last question. What do you guys think about the commentary on big tech?
Well, the
With our
the
two
idea,
nerds,
the idea,
our two very evil, very big tech nerds.
Anti-capitalists.
the fact that they show tech people acting in absurdly dangerous ways that threaten the entire financial system for their own benefit feels a little too relevant to right now at this time. But so credit where it's due.
I will say, it kind of just seemed like the tech version of Gold Member, or not Goldfinger.
Austin Powers makes his glorious return.
Yeah, Goldfinger. It's the same plan, sort of.
Yeah, a little bit.
Gold, so that your gold is worth more. Except this case, it's nuke money, so your gold is worth more.
Yeah. The idea, though, of course, being is that it'll be a return to gold, which is.
I also. This strategy doesn't actually work. It doesn't.
Oh yes.
I mean, this is the exact same strategy that Timothy Olyphant tries to use in Live Free or Die Hard.
Oh yes, it is.
And this is another gripe. I wish filmmakers would actually just do a little research. Like, there are things in place to prevent this from happening. I mean, I don't know what the mysterious. I guess I didn't quite explain how the AI was going to just corrupt.
I suppose, the AI is in some way a get out of jail free card screenplay wise, because you could just say like, oh, the AI will take care of.
Well, I love that it's like, it could do anything. It can hack anything. It could just find the nukes and launch them and then cover its tracks. So like, no, that's not
the AI sits in front of a computer and like just
the AI is running
like,
on a quantum
code
computer.
appears and hacks.
It takes the same amount of time. You can't hack the Pentagon. But yeah, other than the tech know-how, they clearly did not have a tech expert assisting them with the screenplay.
In Guy Ritchie's defense, he probably didn't search out for one.
In Guy Ritchie's defense, he may not be able to use a computer, so
I don't know if computers have reached Britain yet, if we're being honest.
it's still in a typewriter.
as the
That's how
king
Guy Ritchie
allowed
is in
them, you know,
everything
with
he's ever made.
Oh my God. But yeah, yeah, there were a few things like that. Uh yeah, the Tech Bros, I thought it was kind of funny. I mean, it's not very serious, right? But
Mm.
it does sort of show how the anti-capitalist billionaire tech guys are probably out for themselves.
Yeah, yeah. Not a,
Take that for what you will, dear audience.
I'm not saying all of them, but there definitely are these what are their names? Trenton Arnolds. They're out there in Silicon Valley. This entire vacation
more
was
than
followed
some.
because of Silicon Valley, so they have it is a sort of prescient screenplay in its own right, even if it's not on purpose.
Mhm.
But I think
Oh.
the bottom line, Ben, is that this, we talk about, I think my question was even the commentary on big tech, but really what it boils down to, as you guys pointed out with the AI and the role of, being anti-capitalist, it's a movie. It's not meant to be taken seriously like we're trying to, fit it into a box.
Mhm.
This is an action comedy. It's supposed to be surreal isn't the right word, but I think just heavily
Yeah,
stylized.
I found there are a few little like political jabs in the film, but yeah,
Mm.
I don't think they're meant to be very serious. Like there's where Jason Statham asks Josh Hartnett, "Are you a patriot?" He said, "Well, I don't vote Republican if that's what you mean."
That was
I
good.
feel like that line is
Very
perfect
good
because you can
chemistry.
interpret it however you feel.
Yeah, I mean there's a few like little jokes in there. I don't think they're meant to be anything more than jokes.
Yeah.
Not fleshed out or anything. It's just like it's a kind of funny setup. Tech bros, anti-capitalist,
If you
anti-other capitalists.
Yeah.
if you take offense to something in this movie, perceiving that it's a commentary on your life or someone you look up to, look inward, because that's on you.
I mean, he's always got like these guys with really ridiculous identities. I mean, certainly I'll bring it up again. Snatch has I think it's Snatch.
You should probably watch the movie.
And I forgot the guy's name, but he walks around with a yarmulke, is always talking very Jewish and everything, and like the voiceover, he loves the voiceovers. I think it's Jason Statham doing it in Snatch. He's not Jewish, but he really wants to be. Like it's a ridiculous identity, but it's funny. It's not meant to be taken serious.
Yeah.
That's what I feel about like the tech giants who are anti-other capitalists trying to, I don't know, ruin the world's ecosystem. Their economy. Yeah, I find it funny. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything else on Operation Fortune?
No. Recommend it softly.
Awesome Fortune. That's a sexy name.
Yes. I think, as I said to Ben before we started recording, my biggest gripe with the movie is that Orson Fortune is a dumb name.
As you just mentioned, though, it's a movie.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie, baby.
A movie like where you go to the cinema and it's like a film and it feels like a movie. All right.
It's not really like a movie. It's a movie.
Well done.
Well
done.
Yeah, Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre is playing in movie theaters right now. I toss it a full recommendation. These guys, I think, all feel the same way or similar ways. It's a fun ride, I think is the bottom line. We all enjoyed it to varying degrees. You go check it out. Let us know what you think. Next week, we are, for the first time since October, going back into the DCEU. Zachary Levi returns as Shazam in Shazam Fury of the Gods.
And I wish he got a better script, I guess.
Hey, you know what? I got one of my anchors to say the phrase or say the word Shazamily on television the other day. So I'm going to take that win going into next week's
That's a win.
episode.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for watching. We will see you next week for Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
Mm.
Good night.
Good night.
Right?
Yep.